Alright, so here we're going to look at sketching a straight line graph. Now it says sketching, so I'm not going to be drawing, I'm not going to be using a table of values, I'm not going to worry too much about my scales, I'm just going to be sketching it out, showing key bits of information. Okay, so the key bits of information when I am sketching a graph is my y-intercept, my gradient, and my x-intercept. Okay, I've written it in that order because it helps when I'm sketching it to do it in that order. Okay, so let's have a look at an example. I've got y is equal to 3x plus 2. So I'm going to draw my axes. Now, the first thing it's easier for me to start with is my y-intercept. Okay, now remember, when I'm looking at the equation of a line, the coefficient of x is my gradient. Okay, and this value here is my y-intercept. So this is the first bit that I'm going to use. So when I'm plotting my y-intercept, now everything above this x-axis line here is a positive value for y. Anything below it is a negative value for y. So because I know that it crosses my y-axis at a positive 2, I know that it must be at a point above my x-axis. Okay. Because I'm not worrying about my scale, I can choose where on that line I plot my point for 2. So I'm going to put 2 there. So at this point on this y-axis, y is equal to 2. Now the next thing I'm going to look at is my gradient. Now when it's a positive gradient, my graph goes upwards. When it's a negative gradient, my graph goes downwards. Now remember, we're reading from left to right, so that's upwards left to right, and that's downwards left to right. So because I'm just sketching it, I'm just going to draw my diagonal line. Now it's a positive 3, so I know my diagonal line is going to go in an upward direction. To show what my gradient is, I'm going to draw a triangle. I could draw it anywhere on that line. I'm just going to go for here. Okay, that gradient tells me for every 1 move along my x-axis, I make 3 moves up my y-axis because it's a positive 3. Okay, so 1 and 3, describing the steepness of my line. So the bigger this number, the steeper the line. Okay. The next thing I'm going to think about is my x-intercept. So I've done my y-intercept, shown my gradient, now I want to show my x-intercept. Okay. I don't know what the x value is at the moment, but I do know that at any point on this line, y has to be equal to 0 because it's not going up and it's not going down. So y is equal to 0 at any point on this line. So I can substitute that into my equation. So if y is equal to 0, 0 is equal to 3x plus 2. And then I can solve this equation to find my y-intercept. So take away 2 from both sides. Always keep your equation balanced. So minus 2 is equal to 3x. And then that's 3 lots of x, and I just want 1 lot of x, so I divide by 3. So that's minus 2/3 is equal to x. So my x-intercept is minus 2/3. And one way of checking to see if I've got this correct is it's over on the negative side of my x-axis. So anywhere over here, x is a positive value. Anywhere behind my y-axis here, x is a negative value. Okay, and I can see here that it's over on the negative x side, and I do have a negative x-intercept. So I know the likelihood is that that's correct. Let's have a look at another example. So now I'm going to do y is equal to minus 2x minus 3. So draw my axes, x and y. This time my y-intercept is negative, so I know it's going to go below my x-axis. So I'm going to put a point here, and I'm going to say that's where y is equal to minus 3. Okay. Also this time I've got a negative gradient, which means that my straight line graph is going to go in a downwards direction from left to right. Then I need to show that my gradient is minus 2. So drawing my triangle, this time it's 2 down, not 2 up, 2 down my y-axis. Everyone move along my x-axis. Okay. So minus 2 divided by 1 is minus 2. So to find the gradient, I always do my change in y divided by my change in x. My change in y is it's going down by 2, and my change in x is 1. Okay, so I know my gradient is minus 2. The last thing I need to find again is my x-intercept. So I can see it's over on the negative side of my x-axis again, so I'm going to expect a negative answer. Let's just check and make sure that I get that. Okay, so here, any point on this line, y is equal to 0. So I'm going to substitute in 0 minus 2x minus 3, then solve it. To get rid of that minus 3, I'm going to add 3 to both sides. That's going to give me 3 is equal to minus 2x. And then that's minus 2 lots of x, so I'm going to divide by minus 2 to work out one value of x. And that's 3 over minus 2 is equal to x. So that's a negative fraction. So I can see that I'm correct in having a point over here that crosses my x-axis at a negative point. Okay. At this point, I can see 2 goes into 3 once, so another possible way that I could write that is minus 1.5. Either is acceptable because both mean the same thing. So I'm going to say that it crosses at minus 3 over 2, and that's my second sketch. Okay, over to you now. Good luck.